Welcome along to the Wise Men Say podcast. We are back for the new season. We have our first game to look back at, and fortunately that was a defeat. So we will take a more in-depth look at Sunderland's loss to Ipswich at the weekend and have a bit of a discussion about where we think things are in terms of squad quality and just the current state of play. So joining myself, Stephen Goldsmith, is Gareth Barker. Good afternoon. Good evening. Yeah.
Good evening. It's evening. It's 6:10.
I've been off today, so it's just all like blurred into one. Yeah, good to speak. Been a while since we've been on together.
Yeah, it hasn't it?
I think
probably since May.
Yeah, had a nice break from all the football.
I don't know really. Been watching the cricket obviously because in the summer I like to sort of get that on the go, so I didn't really
especially in Ashes summer.
Well, I mean it's a very
I know you watch them all anyway.
Yeah,
but it does.
Yeah. I mean it was not get into that because it's probably probably one of the most.
Let's talk about that run out. No, we're not.
Eagerly anticipated things. So, like you say, and did it captivate a lot of people? So that's quite nice, isn't it? When other people get drawn in, they wouldn't normally. So
2005 vibes, definitely.
Oh, it was I would say it was better than 2005 as a series, personally.
That's what it reminded me of that whole summer.
Yeah,
sort of seen that happen again.
Yeah, but anyway, it's been a funny one. I haven't really. Kind of, I think with the games being in like America, most of like the pre-season, it felt like was condensed into quite a short space of time and just kind of happened in the middle of the night. And just kind of felt a bit detached from it. So it was kind of funny. I didn't go to the Mallorca game because I was busy, and then it's kind of just gone like after that, it was like, oh, I'm at the match and on Sunday, and then it's kind of just, we're back. Here we go again. So,
well, here we go again. Indeed, we'll get into that. It's always nice to get Jimmy Reay on as well after a defeat. The most positive man, certainly from the Wise Men Say stable, but possibly in the world. So, nice to have you on with us again, Jimmy.
Nice to be back on. Yeah,
you can try and tell us how a 2-1 defeat is actually a good thing for Sunderland.
Look, put words in my mouth there, Steve.
I mean, no. What I say straight away, there was nothing in that to set off massive panic alarms in terms of the whole season going forward, was there? It's no different. We've seen this last season. I think it's just going to be similar. Our home record's going to be similar again. The same patterns were emerging in this game that they did all through last season. For the majority of our home games, I would say, dominating the ball, looking really, really good. Some nice 1-touch, 2-touch passing, cutting them open to an extent, but never quite having the cutting edge.
I felt we lacked. I feel like we lacked cutting edge yesterday, to be honest, compared to last season. But it's one game. I'm not gonna like start going, this is what it's going to be like every week. But if you take Ahmad out of the team and Ross Stewart out of the team, obviously he was out of the team for a spell last season. You got to replace that. I mean, replacing Ahmad's. You kind of thought like if he'd been on the pitch yesterday, we would have won the game.
Yeah, he was the sprinkle of magic dust, wasn't he?
Yeah.
On top of what we saw.
Yeah. But I think there were some, positives. First 15 looked really good. I thought Job, if we want to. Should we just call him Job?
I can't bring myself to do it.
He seems to have adopted it, doesn't he? It's just, do you reckon it's just because he doesn't want to be confused with his brother?
Probably, yeah. I mean, some good genes in that family, to be fair. Because I mean, I watched him first half yesterday. I was like, I can't believe you're 17. That's insane.
I know.
And his composure's touch on the ball first half. I thought the way he moved the ball away from some of the challenges and just
the first touch flicks around the back he was doing, like where he basically just send the Ipswich defenders just like the complete wrong way. He did it 2 or 3 times. And he nearly created some opportunities. One for Clark on the inside left channel, and then he obviously had the chance, which I think on video it looks a bad miss, but live it was a lot more of a difficult chance. I think. I mean, I was like right in front.
I thought he should have scored mine from where I was.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say I didn't think he should have scored, but like I was like sort of southwest corner, so like we were like, oh, good chance, but I was like, that happened so fast. Like you can see what he's done. Like, he should have scored. Like
he'll think he should have scored, but I think
you can see from his reaction, he was like immediately like that. But
was it a classic Andy Townsend situation of, if anything, Clive, he hit it too well?
Too much. If it had just bobbled off his foot, he could have even possibly taken a touch if he needed to. But really, what you wanted there was just kind of bounce off his foot and roll in. But whereas it kind of hit the top of his instep, didn't it, and just flew like straight. I think. But Stephen, you're right. I think obviously like you'd expect a player to score in that position, other than, I think the only caveat being there's a lot of power from the shot from Equa, so I think it flashed really quickly to him.
But it was a time of the game where we needed
21 minutes.
You could just tell that we needed a goal then, because
it would have been the perfect time to score.
Yeah, because
Sunderland dominated.
They can't keep it's impossible for them to keep up that sort of intensity and pressure for 90 minutes. They're just not going to do it. Unless you're Man City, you can't do that. So especially at home with Sunderland, that this is going to happen. They're going to have these little spells, and they need to score when they're on top like this, because the other team will get a chance. The way we play and how high our line is and everything like that, we're going to give teams chances. And it's just, the lad sitting next to me made a good point. It just said, like, whenever we concede any chance to any team at home, it's going to be a good chance, because it's just the way we play. So you need to make a count, and that would have been, you could just sense it, couldn't you? You just thought after that, maybe even from that miss, you just thought, what's going to happen here. They're going to get one chance and they're going to score. And
it was weird, wasn't it? Because there was that 109 looked like cleared off the line. I'm down the other end, so I couldn't really see like how close it was or if it was going in. But that, I thought, I basically said that, what you just said there, with that 09 chance, it was like, I thought that had gone in. And then afterwards I was like, I thought they were going to go at the end and score the first attack they've had, basically. But I think.
Do you think? I thought that they had probably the better chances in the first half.
On the break, wasn't it? There was that one that led to 09 cleared it around off the line. They looked more threatening, I think. But I think a lot of that came there. The focal point of hers. Plus, they had bodies around him. Like, in it, kind of, he was more effective as playing that role than what Hemia was, I think, for us. Well, obviously, we don't play in the same way. But I think, like, it was... we dominated it, but I think they could use the break effectively, because he was like an out ball, wasn't he? And then there was like that Wes Burns was buzzing around him, Broadhead was buzzing around him, and it kind of So I kind of see what you mean. Although I would still say that I would say we were by far the better team in the first half. They possibly looked a little bit more dangerous, like, in a way. But also, I think we were inches away for a few times. We didn't have the shots, if you like. But I think we were in really good situations. But there's a couple of times Clark dallied a bit on the ball. There's a couple of times Roberts went to shoot, didn't shoot, and then it kind of went away again. We just need to.
Do you know what really annoying? And we probably more about this every year, and it's such a simplistic view to have that it's almost like. It sounds too simplistic in a way, like, the football is more complicated than that, but it's not. And this refusal to shoot really winds me up. It's a modern football thing. I don't even think it's a Sunderland thing. And you saw what happened when Equa had a shot, and with that Bellingham chance we've just talked about, the keeper looked like he was a spiller, didn't he? And they just don't do it enough. Roberts and Clark have scored plenty of goals from outside the box. There's absolutely no harm in just warming the keeper's palms up and just seeing what he's like. I feel like we say this.
There was a few times we were saying yesterday, like, he should have hit that earlier, or he should have hit it at all. Like, Clark kept going to hit it and then cut him back down again. And it would kind of, you'd lose the momentum a bit, wouldn't you, sometimes? So,
I think Eleanor made that point on the reaction, didn't she? Which is obviously still worth listening to alongside this if you haven't already. But yeah, I think it was a bit more. I think that's the frustrating thing for me is. And like, it kind of feels a bit like the deficiencies that we have that could have, if we'd plugged those deficiencies or attempted to a point, could have got us promoted last season. And we've kind of gone into the season with the same deficiencies present, but we actually haven't. I would say we're probably weaker. Without obviously Ahmad. You look at the players we've brought in, they're clearly not ready. Now they might be in 6 months, but it's if you're always 6 months away from somebody being ready, you're only getting 6 months out of the one when they are ready, if that makes sense. And obviously we've had the situation where it was when Laji was brought in January, it was like, well, oh, he's the Ahmad replacement and he's going to get 6 months to get up to speed. Well, didn't look anywhere near getting up to speed, and obviously we've sold him on already. You know, you look at the newer players. I know, you know, it was pointed out on reaction, I think, as well, that we finished the game with none of the new signings that we brought in on the pitch. You know, I thought Hemia was, you know, I'm not going to dig the lad out because it seems harsh because he's been shut in there, but I thought he was incredibly poor. I thought he looked completely lost, didn't know what to do.
I think he looked off the pace. I'm not sure.
He just looked
nice touches.
There was one moment where he won the ball, used his body really well, got the ball, and turned and, you know, he dropped a bit deeper, but in the way Sue used to. But other than that, he didn't really show.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a step up from him. He's going to have to get used to it because the pace of the game, he couldn't keep up with the pace of the game.
But he just didn't move.
He won't have played a game anywhere near as fast as that with that against players as good as that in his career. Like Benfica B might be a good level in terms of their Benfica, but the Portuguese, like second division or whatever, playing is not going to be as intense as the Championship, is it? He won't. Like that centre back, both of them would straight up his arse basically every time he got anywhere near the ball, and he didn't really know what to do.
Mowbray said pre-match, you know, on that thing where the talk he did on Thursday, and he said then that he said Hemia is knackered after every training session. Constantly, like after his very first one, he was like starfish lying on the floor and like saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe how fast this is," kind of thing. So, but then Mowbray, I think he likes him, and it seems like it's going to be down to him now because he's obviously adapted to it to an extent. But this was a first Championship match, and like I say, he didn't look up to the pace at all. 19-year-old, he's been thrown in. You know, the only number 9 we've got. It's, you know, huge pressure for him, and it was good to see the fans didn't get his back.
No, I think
which happened in the past.
The thing is about this whole thing, though, is, and we've said this, you know, from the outset, is that, you know, it's all very well doing what we're doing, and a lot of it is good. However, we need to help. We need to help them out. We need to give them. We need to give them a chance. We need to give them an opportunity to develop at the right pace and tempo that they need to develop in order to be impactful in games, but not be hung out to dry. And I think what we saw yesterday was a situation where the lad's been hung out to dry a bit. But the thing is, the way we're building the squad, we've almost gone, well, we're going to accept that he's going to sink or swim. The problem is, if you don't get results, it becomes a problem. Now, I'm not saying that we won't get results through the season. I mean, we could have got a result yesterday. I mean, we could have been 3-0 down after we had, like, you know, on the day got the second, and then we seem to just go. Our brains just seem to go completely scrambled.
It went very like sort of Championship 17-18 for that, you know, that for about 5 minutes where it was like nobody knows what they're doing. Like they're gonna. I was convinced they were going to score again. Then Hugh gets sent off, and it's like I think it was like 72 minutes or something. I was like, this is going to be a long 20 minutes now. I was like, this is not looking good at all. But then fair play, we did rally, didn't we?
I mean, it was funny though because there was no real pattern of play once we did rally, and it was just kind of like blood and thunder, wasn't it? And I thought, you know, Gooch and Pritchard made a real positive impact in the team.
I thought even Bar did as well when he came on. Not to the level they did, but
he tried to drive forward with the ball and
he was involved in the goal as well. Him circling with the interplay. But I think the patterns are hard when it's 10 men though, isn't it? Because I think a lot of
but we could have equalised, you know, and obviously a couple of times, and obviously hit the post at the end, and you know the keeper made that save at the end, and a sort of similar chance as one that hit the post. So I mean, we could have come away, and I know it was mentioned on the reaction again about, you know, the spirit in the team, that attitude, they don't give up, they keep going, and that's great. I just wish I just still feel as though they're not being given the opportunity to be the best they can be. And that's the frustration for me. I just think you need to this group you're putting together. That's all very well and good, but you need to support them with
give them the tools, innit?
Something else. You need to give them. All you need to do is give them 2 or 3 bits and bobs of what we need. You know, you look at the situation with Bart. It's just, you know, right, okay, fair enough, we're doing that, but just weird to think like he's sitting on the bench there. and he's our player of the season, and it's just a bit odd, really, to me.
That 20-minute spell where we're talking about there, from when they scored and then over into the second half, when they scored the second, hit the bar, and we were all over the place, and we did regain composure, and I think Pritchard and Gooch were. Yeah, that wasn't an accident because you need. This is the thing we keep saying, and we say it time after time, week after week. Those are the moments where you need. It's not just always about data in that specific moment. It's about characters on the pitch and experience on the pitch. Somebody to get some of those young lads through those 20 minutes. Right, this is what we need to do now. We can't go and play this little one touch, two touch passing we've been doing. What we're going to do now, we're going to keep our shape and we're going to stay in the game for 10 minutes. Then we're going to go again. And it's like we understand how important Corey Evans was now in his absence, and I feel like as good as Ekwa was and is, I feel like he's wasted in that position personally. Yeah. And I feel like if we could have somebody like in the mold of Evans with a bit of experience who can just sit
like Morsey, was playing there for them.
Sit at the base of midfield, and then you've got Bellingham, Ekwa, Neal, and you can rotate them. You can play two of them ahead of whoever that is, and then you're not relying on them so much, getting burnt out because a 17-year-old, getting burnt out because it's easy to forget how young Dan Neal is. Do you know what I mean? And I just think I feel like Ekwa's got more offer going forward when he drives forward with the ball, and I just feel like, as Gareth saying, if they could just be helped out a little bit, and it's an obvious thing, go and get somebody who can sit in that position that allows you to rotate those three lads, play them two at a time, make a change after now and bring the other one on. They've all got something going forward, and they need some help.
You only need 3 or 4 through the spine of that team to pull it together at the pitch.
Well, we've got one because we've got one sitting on the bench, Danny Bart. Yeah. So just put him in. Just put him in alongside Ballard.
I was wondering with him.
That's the best centre. That's the best pairing we have.
Do you think how bad the Hartlepool game was, which he played all of, and how bad the defending was, pissed Mowbray off to an extent where he hasn't played him?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that game, you look at it, I think tomorrow night is going to be the same. I think they're just going to be. I mean,
there was the only reason I could think why I didn't play him, essentially, because if the whole because take the rumours to one side for a second, obviously there is interest there. I'm not saying there isn't, but clearly it's not interest to the extent where anything's close to happening, given that he was on the bench. Because if it was close, he presumably wouldn't have been included at all, as was reported. He wouldn't be. And then Mowbray again coming out and saying he's going to be playing tomorrow. So I'm thinking, why else wouldn't you play him? Because it's either that or he just really likes Onai in there, but I don't see why he's saying if that's the case.
I just think it's, the situations, we've seen this before and we've talked about with players in the past. And I understand what they're saying is, well, we're going to do, we do this now, and if we can get a fee for this player now, and we're not going to offer him a deal at the end of the season, we'll get rid of him now. But how much are you actually going to get for Danny Bart now? 500-600 grand probably. They'll probably
300 grand or something.
Well, the report, but it said Blackburn don't want to pay anything, so he might not be going anywhere.
So
they want him free.
So you look at it that way and go, well, what is actually the benefit to Sunderland here? And
well, exactly. This is what I couldn't understand, because while he's here, you should play him at the very least, even if you take that side of it away. Because I agree with what you're saying as far as there is no real benefit of letting him go. But while he's here, I think before he goes, we might as well use him anyway, even if he is going, quote unquote, going.
I think because I think we do see this sometimes, and where we have scenarios and situations where whatever, because people are positive and happy, and that's great. Whatever happens is the right thing, and then people start rationalize, in my opinion, sort of illogical or nonsensical ideas. Is like, well, actually, this thing is good. Yeah. So, for example, we're going to get rid of, let our player of the season go to a potential promotion rival on a free transfer is actually good. Or saying not having any centre forwards is actually good.
Yeah.
Or all these kind of weird things, or not buying anybody is actually good, because
that's the issue, isn't it?
It's not. You've got to be You've got to have a level. You've got to have a level of knowledge and flexibility. I think some of Mowbray's comments in the last week there's probably a bit of protectionism in there for him because he's probably not going to have his contract renewed at the end of the season, is he? Let's be brutally honest. Because they're already sniffing around for the managers as we knew on the summer. And that I'm sure, or even that I don't believe there was no smoke without fire or that kind of thing. I'm sorry, but we obviously were kind of exploring options there because that's what they do.
Although we do what I will say with that is, while I agree, I also do say we have said previously he should always be looking.
Oh, I agree.
One step ahead.
No, definitely, I absolutely agree.
At the same time, it was probably more than just looking, wasn't it? Let's be fair.
I think as well, you're looking at the similar stuff he's saying, basically we're having to go after third or fourth choice options because we haven't got the money to spend on our first choice options. I mean, people can argue to the blue in the face that sustainability is wonderful and great and all that kind of thing, but what is sustainability in modern football? What is it though? What is sustainability in modern football? I'm sorry, but
it depends on the size of the club.
But my point is, there's nobody who's successful is sustainably, generally speaking. So you've got to invest something, otherwise you're just gonna tread water or worse because you can't. Sustainability. I've said this before and I said it a number of times last season. I'm not going to the match watching what's happening on the pitch and going, "Oh, I'm glad the books are balanced." Do you know what I mean? I'm not particularly I'm not saying I want us to go out of business. We've had people nearly run us out of business who are preaching sustainability. So I think it can go one or two ways, but I just feel like a little bit in one direction. Again, I'm not saying we have to go and spend £17 million.
But that's the problem, isn't it? As soon as that's the argument used against it always, isn't it? It's like people will immediately go, well, yeah, we could just go and spend like ridiculous money. But like you say, we're not actually saying that.
No, we're just saying
spend like some money, like, because especially with the sale of the Hadji as well. And I get like they don't want to or can't possibly spend much until we sell. But I mean, let's be fair, like, even if you look at, I think Chris put a table up of like incoming and outgoing money, and we were by no means near the bottom of the top. I think we were somewhere in the middle. But I think for me, a club of our size, like, we should be aiming a little bit higher in terms of like, we're in especially the way we play, and that's also credit to them insofar as like, we're an exciting young team, an attractive proposition. But along with that, if you want to upgrade to the next level, you have to then be able to become more than just like a team of potential. You need to sprinkle in some, like they did with Ahmad. He was more than just potential. He was like, he is already one of the best players. Jack Clarkson's another example. He is already one of the best players in the league in his position. I'm not saying we have to go out and buy a team full of the best players in the league in their position, but I feel like we're not striking the balance. Hence why Hemi is being forced to play the role that realistically someone 2-3 years older than him with 50-60 more games under his belt than he has should be playing, and he should be the one to come on to replace him. But we haven't got the options there at the minute.
I would say you shouldn't be in a situation, the first game of a new season, after what we endured last season in terms of the issues relating to the centre forwards, having to put Dan Ballard up front for the last 15 minutes of a game. I'm sorry, but and they might get the 1st September and they've got the players they want in. Great. I still don't really think it's particularly acceptable, regardless of what anyone thinks about how well they've recruited, and they have recruited well in many respects. However, it's not about it's a tick. Well, because they've done this, we ignore this. No, you say, well done for this. However, what about this? Because
I think that's the key thing, and it can go the other way. So, some people will just highlight the negatives and won't highlight the positives. Other people will do the reverse. And what you're saying there is right. Like, you have to take everything at face value, and I think it's quite obvious where the deficiencies lie. And I was in the summer kind of saying, well, I think I don't want to go back on what I said, because I'm going to still give them time to do it. I was like, surely it was that obvious last season what we needed. They won't make that mistake again. I was like, they've proven they can recruit well in part. It's obvious what else they need to do. Surely they're going to do it. And I'm still waiting on that regard, insofar as like you've said, we've all said, like the issues are essentially the same when it comes to where the depth isn't. and what the issues in terms of home form are as well.
I mean, the home form one's a bit of a staggering one. I think we've, what was it? Was it 40, of the last 42 championship games at home? I think we've won 10. I think was the stat. It might have been a few more than 42. I can't remember. It was 42 or 47. I can't remember. It might be 47 because that's 23 game seasons. So yeah, I mean,
it's going to keep seeing the same pattern. I think that's the thing. It's going to be really important that we score goals when we're on to have these little spells on top at home, because it's an entirely different setup from the opposition when they come to Stadium of Light as to what it is. I won't be surprised if we go and smash Preston again on Saturday. You know, like, because it's good. It feeds into our hands playing away from home at the moment, and I'm sick of saying. I'm not even going to say that we need another centre forward in, because I'm sick of saying it. It's just. I'm bored myself of saying it.
It's just obvious, isn't it?
It's as obvious as the nose on anybody's face, isn't it? And it's like, you know, and we might get a bit stick for it, but at least we're consistent with it.
Well, at least we're not just like pretending that like everything like this, because this is the thing that you criticize. It's right to criticize the lack of striking options, but then people will say, "Oh, well, he's just negative. Like, why can't you be positive about this, that, and the other?" And this is me saying that as well. Somebody who is generally positive, but even I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good thing, like, because it's obviously not. And yeah, I like to be positive. I like to see the best in situations when I can. But for me, there's no value in saying anything other than the truth, which is that it's not good enough.
It's just a couple of times, you know, when Clark got to the box and you just think if Ross Stewart's standing in the box, this is the goal.
Yeah.
Because he's going to pick him out. He's going to know where to stand and he's going to pick him out.
Yeah, it's like it was that. It was like, and also, you know, when like this sort of a cutback option, like in Hemi, sometimes Stewart would drop a bit further back, create some space, somebody else can drop in. Hemia was kind of just standing there, and it was like, this is, again, I'm loath to criticize him too much because I don't think he almost certainly won't be a bad footballer, but it's game intelligence, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially at this level.
Well, he'll get better in time. He'll get better in time, but
and the
there's a lot of pressure.
Striker's nowhere near as
on
good
him
as him technically, who would have way far more of a nuisance up top for us than what he did there, just through experience.
But the stage where he is at his career now, we should be talking about him getting his first start for Sunderland tomorrow night against Crewe.
Yeah,
100%.
That is, where 100%. He should be, isn't it? Let's put the young 19-year-old in up front, and
I mean,
again,
there's an argument
to an inferior opposition to see what he's like. Yeah,
there's the argument to say his career hasn't really begun yet in many respects. I mean, he's been playing in Portuguese second division for a B team. I mean, do you know what I mean? At 19, he's kind of playing sort of half reserve team football, I would say.
I'd say it's a step up from the Academy League, isn't it? But it's obviously not really like, because this Portuguese second tier is not like the Championship, is it? It's like full of like teams with it's the best teams are the B teams, and the rest are like sort of teams playing in National League sized grounds with no money, who just probably sign half of the B team players from the big clubs who don't go anywhere else. So it's not a level anywhere comparable to the Championship at all.
No, it's not. But so I do feel for him, and I think he's definitely got the tools to have something, but it's just going to take a bit of time.
Yeah, and also you'll be nervous,
period.
Like walking out 44,000. The atmosphere before the game was electric. There was loads of noise. He'll have been to Benfica games obviously and seen it, but he would have taken part in it. It's a totally different thing, isn't it? And I said to me mate there, I was like, he won't have seen anything like this before. He's coming out, and then he's expected to perform as the number 9. Like, that's a lot of pressure for anybody. And he's only 19. Yeah. I'd be capping myself now if I had to do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
what do you think about the? We haven't really done a break, or we're going to bother with the break, is it?
Yeah, let's just.
The advert will just. So sorry if the advert interrupted one of us speaking. Yeah. I would say that. What do you think about the injury time or stoppage time situation? It's a bit of a funny one because I'm not saying like it shouldn't happen, but I was kind of thinking, will it change the way managers manage games? Will it change?
I think it's designed for that,
isn't it? And I think the hope or the idea from the officials' point of view is that that time will start reducing because people will stop wasting. People will stop wasting time because they know that we could have done this in League One, couldn't we?
Yeah,
when we needed it.
Because we were saying like their keeper and the defenders, as will regularly happen, they were trying to waste time throughout the majority of the second half, especially. And we were like, well, sure, this is going to get added on, so why is he doing it? And then it did get added on. And we were saying, well, if he hadn't been pissing about all that time, it wouldn't have been anywhere near that much. But like you say, it's going to be like a culture change in it. So I think over time, if they keep enforcing it, it will change. But at the World Cup, they did it for like the group stages and then just went back to normal, didn't they? So I don't know if they'll end up just doing that, because I like it, because time wasting just really annoys me, and I think it's fair and right.
The little dark arts one that I kind of want to. Maybe I'm generalizing a lot here, but in my mind, Jose Mourinho brought this to the Premier League, because I can remember that Chelsea team with the first team. I can remember who started to do this. The little subtle ones where they're like talking to the ref and then they just like swipe the ball away with the side of the foot as they're like talking, so they're not making it obvious that they're kicking the ball away and stuff. Those are the ones like that they really clamped me down when I was watching the Southampton who they playing Friday Chef Wed game. A player from each team got booked within about a minute of each other for doing it, and that hopefully, like that's a good thing. That can only be a good thing, because teams get away with that far too much, or they have done.
We'll have to see how it plays out, and hopefully it does change. But I just think, like, now again, I saw a few comments on Rafael Varane did a tweet about his thoughts basically, and I got a few boiling with rage kind of responses, but like, and it's like, well, what I used to work down the pit for like 47 hours a day and all that kind of thing. It's not about that. It's like these people, these footballers now are like super fit, like sensationally fit people, and if they're saying the sheer volume of games, this sort of added time stuff, you're talking about, you could be playing essentially an extra 20 minutes every game.
Yeah, because like average like 60 minutes the ball's in play normally. So now, they're getting 30 minutes where it's not. Normally.
So I'm not saying, and I'm not saying that, it's not their fault for cheating or time wasting, but one team has tend to be time wasting, so the other team suffers. Now they probably want the time because they want to get back in the game if they're losing, like yesterday, where we've got up ahead of steam in that last 30 minutes, and really we probably could have ended up winning that game in that spell if we'd scored an extra like 5 minutes sooner. But I just think it's an interesting one from a player welfare.
There are other ways to waste time, though, aren't there? Like, Southampton against Wednesday just kept the ball.
Yeah, but how managers, how managers might manage the substitutions. If things like that, are you gonna hold on to them for a bit longer, knowing that you could be playing for an extra. An extra.
Well, you'd imagine,
15, 20 minutes
most
a game.
Likely. I mean, Huggins came on in 90 plus 10 yesterday, so I know that was because Sirkin. But Sirkin went off knackered and possibly with cramp. But he was fine in 90 plus 6. It was 90 plus. So again, feeding into what you're saying.
If you think about the injuries that we've had as well in the last sort of 2 years, you kind of look at it and go, is this going to be a breaking point for for this sort of thing? Are we going to start seeing more injuries? Are we going to start seeing more muscle problems? Are we going to start?
Well, we don't start seeing more injuries.
I'm not like, as I said, some people be going, oh, it doesn't matter, it'll be fine, the young fit.
No, it's a good point to make. And if I'm honest, like I was very much for it, but I hadn't thought about it like what you've just said. And
I'm not saying it shouldn't be added on. I'm just
saying, like, you've kind of made me think of it in a different way, which makes me think actually it may not be as straightforward as I thought.
Some of these players are running what
10K a game,
7-8 miles a game. That's, and it's
high intensity sprints. Plus also you could say there could be an injury that happens in the 10th minute of added time that would never have happened if it was less. Like a bad challenge or a head injury.
If you get a head injury in the 10th minute of the 13 added on, you're going to be there until midweek game. You could be there until the next day.
I wonder if I start like genuinely, they might have to start thinking about putting the kick-off time at like 7:30 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I admire
There's
the
a risk you're going
intention.
to play another half an hour on a
The
midweek
intention
game.
behind it is right for me, insofar as like too many teams get away with so much time wasting. Like you said, with League One, but even like in the Championship, and it's not just against us. You see it in the Prem as well. It's like teams willfully waste time, and it's been too long where referees haven't or won't add it on. I mean, there's been games where like referees have seemingly plucked a number out of thin air and added it on, and it's nowhere near enough. And obviously, if you're the defending team, you're like, oh yeah, but you want it to finish as quick as possible. But maybe this is going too far, because I can't see like again the whole season it just becoming standard as like 12 minutes of added time.
Well,
like, it just seems wrong.
A lot of the games on. So I looked at the Championship results, or went to look at the Championship results on Saturday afternoon. I think there was 3 games still going on in the 100th minute. So it's not going to be an irregular thing. And also, if you do have a bad injury in the game, where that would add on, say, 7-8 minutes, you could be looking at 20 minutes at a time. It's like
it's going to have to be a common
games.
sense thing in scenarios like that, where the ref goes, well,
but then you can't, though. You can't.
I know.
Because then you'd have the manager saying, well, we're losing 1-0.
And that's the kind of
you should have added on 22 minutes.
That's the Pandora's box that's been opened by this rule.
I'm not saying it's like the wrong or right thing to do.
No, you're right. You've genuinely said stuff that I've not thought about, and has made me sort of question because I did, like I said, I was for it, but you've made some good points there. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it goes.
A stop clock and all that.
Yeah, that's normally me.
Where do you stand on it, Stephen?
I'm pretty much like just saying what Jim said as well. Yeah, I think I've got to kind of hope and trust the process that will stop people from doing it, that it works.
Yeah,
otherwise
I mean, it's like anything. You know, we're talking about, like, you know, I've always been of the opinion technology in football is a positive thing, but it should be administered by the players in a sense that you get. Every decision isn't reviewed. Players review decisions based on the fact that they believe the referee is incorrect now, and then I think that would garner more respect between the players and the referee, because they'd have to think and appreciate how difficult the job might be to make that decision themselves, and then make it as well. Am I sure? If I'm not sure, how can I say that the referee was completely
problem with that
wrong?
is, though, like, people, it's so competitive in it, and if even like, you know, when you're playing 5-a-side with your mates, like, you're just going to back set you know, whatever benefits your team, you're just going to go with that.
Yeah, but I'm saying the point is, what would happen is they'd burn the reviews so quickly that eventually they'd start thinking about it, which is what happened. Which is what happens generally in every sport where this has been introduced. Initially, they're like, well, in the cricket they used to do it all, burn the reviews within like 15 overs.
Well, that was like you say in the Ashes, there was loads, wasn't there, where it was like, why is Stokes not reviewed that? Why is he not reviewed that? And it's like, well, he's only got 3, hasn't he?
No,
so
but you're
looking at it going, like, I can see why.
Well, you can see him on the pitch going, because you know, Bairstow or whoever, Bowl or whatever, be appealing for it, and he'd be like, "Nah, I'm not going to waste one here."
Yeah, and also, and on a similar note, I think what's good about what they do with the cricket is, so when they'll do some of the ball tracker stuff and say it's like clipping the stumps, they'll keep it with the on-field decision.
That's what they should do with the offside.
Yeah, exactly. That was just about that's exactly what I was just about to say. If it gets to a point where you've got to get all those little cutter lines out, and it's still not, it can't be 100% scientific, because it doesn't factor in, like we've said before, when the ball's released from the player's foot. There's so many things that it could factor in, and just so. If it's that close and it's that tight, when you're getting all those little dotted lines and cutted lines like that, it's too close to definitively say. So what you do in that instant is you stick with the on-field decision.
Yeah.
And whatever the linesman or the referee said on that offside call, that's what we're sticking with, because it's too tight for us.
A ball in a stump is a lot smaller scale than what a foot in a big football pitch is, and if they can't do it on a ball and a stump, then surely it could be the same on a bigger scale, like you said, with the imaginary lines as well. Yeah. So
you just got to imagine it. You could have a referee's call or line an assistance call within a margin of error, which is acceptable because there has to be an acceptable margin of error. Because I mean, really, like we've slagged refs and all sorts off on this pod plenty times, and sometimes they make absolute howling mistakes. But at the same time, the amount of like offsides the assistants get right, like the percentage must be in the 90s.
Yeah,
and that is like really considering the pace, of the game. I think that's like pretty impressive, really.
Yeah, do you know what would be funny as well? It's just popped into my head, because there'll be an element of pantomime brought into it. So, say if like somebody comes through and then the look offside and the flag stays down, and then that team suddenly got to make a call as to whether they're gonna review, right? For example, say that's the way they do it. Who's best to see? Because the centre halves will always just put their hand up in hope, but they won't really be in a position to say, I'm sure. The bench, maybe. Who's going to have the best view? It's going to be the fans on that side.
So it'll have to be like,
and then start saying review like that, and like.
But then the other three stands are like,
It'll be interesting to see if that would impact. They would almost be like asking those fans, like, was it offside? Do we review this? That would be great.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And it would add like another level to certain grounds. Oh, don't play there. They're great at appealing.
Yeah.
They never get an offside wrong. Molyneux never gets an offside wrong. Like
maybe they could get like a load of fans of that team, sort of around 25 yards from the edge of the box, sitting in a line, who like people who used to be assistant referees. And then they could like kind of go.
The club stop buying them season tickets.
Yeah. Stop buying some assistant referees season tickets.
They get little club jackets with their initials on the breast as well, just like they can sit there.
Speakman and Harvey start looking at the data. We're like, who are the most accurate offside calls out of all the assistant referees? And get them. We're going to get them in.
Yeah.
We're going to get them in, and they're going to sit there. Yeah.
Great. I mean, it's a great idea. Apart from like none of this is ever going to happen. So
they've got to look at something like this, I think, and stop being stubborn, because they're not using it correctly, and I think it should add to it. It should add to the drama, not spoil it. Like you say that the America and Sweden, the Women's World Cup match, and it's like all hinged on that winning penalty, and Hawkeye saying with the ball over the line. Like, that's what you want. Like, yes, it's been used correctly because it's definitively said that the ball was over the line, and it was such a big call at a big moment, wasn't it?
Well, there was that penalty shout for Clark yesterday.
Which was a penalty.
VAR would give that, wouldn't it? So,
I mean, we haven't talked about that because we got digressed.
But that was clear.
It was reckless, wasn't it? It was a reckless.
It was a penalty. Yeah,
I couldn't believe it when he didn't give it.
It's always worse when they give something the other way, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, when it was but because he was like, why isn't he booked in? But then I think the booking's just for like theatrical diving.
He gave a free kick for handball because he fell on the ball.
Handball.
So he fell on the ball and touched it with his hand. So he gave a free kick the other way for handball. It wasn't for a dive. Or anything.
And then he gave a yellow card for somebody went up, and it was for dissent, wasn't it? He just showed them a yellow card instantly. I haven't seen any of it back, but from memory, obviously the next opportunity, all the players ran towards the referee to say why didn't he give a penalty, and he was pull a yellow card and boot one of them. That's how I remember it. Maybe I'm wrong.
Can I also just say that aesthetically, it's nice to have just like plain white goal nets at the stadium? Is that like
we were talking about this? When was the last time we had that?
Because first season at the Stadium of Light.
Because there's always been a bit of red on there.
Yeah. I hate those like red. I did write an article.
Remember the checkerboard? Remember the checkerboard one?
I quite like that. Yeah. If we had hexagonal white nets, that would be my.
Oh yeah, proper like 90s Serie style.
Yeah. But it's because I did write an article on ALS once about goal nets because I'm sad. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? Because you know when you're like. I don't know what it is. It
does change the way you look at it though, because we had some really, really like dark ones for a while, didn't we? That was like a fashion where remember Chelsea had like a black net for a bit. Didn't
they did. But you can see it's better actually for the supporters to have the white net, because if you're at the other end of the ground, you can see
it makes that
target.
Bull, when the ball like is rifled, it makes the bulls look all better as well.
You can see that is the target that the players are aiming for. That's like the whole point of the game. So if you're down the other end and it's a big white square, you can actually see a bit better. When it was like those dark red nets that we've had for the last few years, you can't really it's difficult to judge the angles and stuff like that. But yeah, and I think wasn't there a study showing it actually might have been Eddie
Sounds
Howe
like Will
Bournemouth.
Griggs got an excuse now.
Yeah. It might have been Eddie Howe Bournemouth who said that.
Sounds like Eddie Howe.
They should have he changed the nets from the black and red to the white, all white nets, because he was saying psychologically it's a bigger target. It looks like a bigger target to hit, or you can see the target better because it's brighter than having the darker colours. It actually does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So we're gonna go out on Gareth praising Eddie Howe about something.
I'm not praising Eddie Howe. I'm just praising Sunderland for finally implementing white goal nets after 26 years.
It was nice to see. It was a nice change of pace. A nice change of pace.
And what we should go out in is saying that everyone. Sorry about the whole thing in the summer with the live show. We had to move it, but the 10-year anniversary Wise Men Say live show is now on the 6th of October at Pop Rex.
Night before we play at Borough.
Yeah. So that'll be a good evening. Kevin Ball will be there. I think Nick Barnes, Phil Smith. We'll try and get some other people down there as well.
Probably rope Darren Williams into that one with a
we'll just get loads of people to come down, and then we'll have a laugh, and you can buy tickets through wisemensay.co.uk, or if you look on Eventbrite, the tickets are on there. £12 plus fees. So it should be a good night, good opportunity to sort of, celebrate. Well, you don't have to come and celebrate what we've been doing for 10 years, but it might be nice to just get together and have a drink, because it's quite a long time to be doing this, isn't it? I mean, it is.
Even I've been doing it for 4 now.
Yeah, I know. I am going bald now. I mean, I had hair, and then in 5 years' time, I'll not be able to make jokes about Stephen being bald anymore, and he looked better as a bald than me as well, so it's a bit frustrating. So, needless to say, he's had the last laugh.
It's been a long wait. 10-year wait for us to have the last laugh.
Yeah.
That's the reason. As soon as it happens, I'm leaving. That's what I've been waiting for.
You're only allowed one at any one time for quality and diversity.
Oh, right. Well, not much to say really on the crew game. I still haven't even decided if I'm going yet, to be honest. I kind of feel like I want my loyalty point because it took so many of us in the summer.
There's another thing as well. So we're playing until 7:10 on Sunday night. And then we've got to kick off at 7:45 on Tuesday night.
Should have been on the Wednesday, shouldn't it?
I mean, it's just stupid. I mean,
Why isn't it on the Wednesday? Normally you don't play Sunday, Tuesday. Well, even with the previous advertising.
And then you're asking fans to buy tickets for a game to go and watch. And what team are you picking?
It's going to be similar to that Hartlepool game, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Bradley Dack's due to feature, which I'm excited to see. I hope Olivia goes as well. Just so it can be on the documentary.
I think we've had enough documentaries. Well,
yeah, if the producers want to give us a shout, we'll just point them in the direction of season 1. And look at that. Right, okay, well, I think, nothing to get overly concerned about with a defeat, which on another day we could have taken something from us. Gareth said I think we could have even won that. I don't think we deserve to lose a game. Everything you read and listen about in relation to Ipswich suggests they're going to be up there. Whether that's the case or not, if we just use that as a context for it as well, it's not a disastrous result. And I think Preston away will tell us a lot more about where we are. Hopefully we've got a couple of signings in by then, and Matt and whoever can talk about that later on in the week. So as always, thanks for listening.